So anyway, Lugero has got Leslie speakers, yeah, and the Leslie speakers are a super fantastic creation created by this guy by the name of Leslie. Anyway, the name, yeah. But what it is speaker cones inside a cabinet, and there is machinery which rotates the speaker. So one moment the speaker is like, pointing there, and then it keeps on rotating around in a circle. So when you are the listener, you get a swirling kind of exposure to the sound. It's not just like one sound coming to you like that. It's like moving around. And when you combine it with an organ, a Hammond organ, for example, oh, the effect is just so super fantastic. Yeah. When I was in my teens, like Premo just been talked about this Red Rooster. There was a rock pub in Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia. So anyway, when I was in my teens, whenever you saw any rock or blues band performing, if they had a keyboardist, he would be playing Hammond organ equivalent, and they would have the Leslie speakers, and you would get that swirling sound. So you don't need to be drinking. You can just hear the sound and get drunk already. it was the thing. So all of the great rock bands, in those days, they would use Hammond organs with Leslie speakers, and Deep Purple, Uriah Heep, every one of the rock bands was using that. Yeah, it was only much, much, much later that that I don't know, more and more digital equipment came into play, and then nowadays you have keyboardists with a keyboard, and they just put the sound through a PA system or whatever because it's convenient. They don't have to carry around a humongous pieces of equipment, but the sound is so totally different. Yeah, just completely different. It's like trying to compare uh, between food that is cooked, in a proper restaurant or by a proper chef, and then you compare it with stuff that you get out of the supermarket, just a packet of ramen noodles, put it in boiling water. Yeah. So unfortunately, in almost all of music venues nowadays, um, and it's not just in Malaysia. Yeah, I suspect that this is becoming a worldwide phenomenon. People who go to bars and clubs, they are only hearing processed sound, digitally processed sound, but they're not hearing the real analog sounds of it, because sound is like a waveform. And no wave is exactly the same as the next wave. There are always things that are changing. And in the old days, amplifiers used to have what we call tubes, which is like a valves, transistor valves. Hang on, I should have a picture of these bloody things somewhere here. Come on, Reggie, I'm sure you can find this. Yeah, these things. You youngsters, would you even know what these things here? Oh, sorry. Okay, the first picture was the one you wanted to know. So anyway, those things that you saw, they are like bottles. They are like bottles with a fire inside of them. They are actually valves or tubes, and the valves, I think of it like old-fashioned bulbs, and they were electrical filament. And so, as electricity passes through the filament, they have uh, plates which are very high at very high voltages, and so the current is all flowing in. Think of it as the current is flowing in fire form, in fiery form. And when you play, as the valves get hotter, their response to changes becomes even more. And then, if you overload the circuit, it begins to have distortion. What the people nowadays talk about rock guitars and distortions. Yeah, in the old days, they were all being distorted through the valves. So anyway, when you hear those sounds, it's very hard to describe. to somebody who's never heard this kind of thing before, but it's um, it's a very it's a very rich sound with so many things going on inside. Yeah. So even if a musician were to play one chord, yeah, you can hear so many things going on, and the volume level is never constant; it fluctuates. Then sometimes the electricity voltage is fluctuating, and sometimes the voltage is not stable. Then there will be some noise and some pops and some cackles, and it's a marvelous thing. It's a marvelous thing because that's what audio is about. And so, when you have a rock band or a blues band playing, uh, everybody is amplifying his instruments through these kind of things. And so it's like, you go to a campfire and there's a fire, a real fire burning, you know and then you have many people burning many different little fires and cooking their whatever it is on the fire. It's a different kind of a thing to somebody just bringing a microwave to a picnic. um, why am I even talking about this? Well, I'm talking about this because I seriously, because I pity the younger generation, because they will never ever have heard of this. Yeah. And so the appreciation of music nowadays is only based on the notes of the music, and then the beats that are going on, and then to some extent the sound, but the sound that you're hearing is a processed sound. You're just probably getting only the surface of the sound. It's like seeing an iceberg floating on the Arctic Ocean. You look at the iceberg and you think that's what an iceberg is, but the surface is very much less than the whole thing. Most of the details are under the water. So anyway, Lujero has this equipment with him, what I mean? And he's got the Leslie speakers in there, but I don't think he's using tube amps as much now. If you look at the back of drop of my studio here, I've got tube amps, yeah. So when I record my albums, I use tube amps. And when I used to do shows in bars and clubs, I used to bring along my tube amps, yeah. Uh, but I found that after a while, the people who came to the bars and the clubs, yeah, they don't understand the tube sound anymore. They only want to hear the pop songs that they are hearing, and that they are hearing songs from people who are using digital equipment. And so when they hear a song, they are not hearing the feel. Those days we used to talk about things like feel, the feel of a song. But people nowadays don't listen to the feel of a song. They just want to hear that tune and that melody. Um, so it's a different thing. And I used to carry heavy amps, take them to bars and clubs, and I would have to hire roadies and hire a truck to carry our band equipment, set it up for shows, and then we could play the songs that we loved, in that way. Uh, but all of this would only be appreciated by the older generation. The younger generation, they've got no clue, what things are. And so uh, this is a gone thing, yeah. Even a lot of my own friends, when I do gigs and shows, people from my era, so to speak, they used to be crazy about going out to bars and clubs to listen to live music, but they tell me that they don't go out anymore to listen to music. Yeah, and I say, hey, there's so many good bands around and so much of good music. Then they say, yeah, but when they go out to a bar or a club, the sound is always horrible. No matter who is playing, the sound is horrible. And what can you say? Yeah, because bars and clubs will just buy digital PA systems, easy, convenient, light, and easy to connect. You can digitally save your settings from the previous night, and you can have a little card with your settings already there. So setting up is easy, but by golly, the sounds are different here. Anyway,